Welcome to the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast, where midlife meets growth, purpose, and connection. A place where midlife is not something to survive, but a season to thrive. Here, we're building a welcoming community of people who are right in the middle of life, sharing our stories, learning from one another, and discovering just how meaningful and powerful this season can be. Together, we'll explore the topics that shape midlife, relationships, transitions, health, parenting, careers, and the inner work that helps us thrive. My goal is to encourage you, uplift you, and remind you that midlife can be vibrant, meaningful, and deeply fulfilling. My hope is that you'll feel seen, supported, and inspired to live fully, grow bravely, and embrace the person you're becoming. I'm so glad you're here. Let's navigate midlife together on the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole, and this week we're continuing our Enneagram in Relationships series, where we're exploring how each Enneagram type shows up in personal and professional relationships, and how understanding one another better can lead to deeper connection, healthier communication, and more grace for ourselves and others. I'm a certified Enneagram coach and had the honor to learn and study with Beth McCord, founder of Your Enneagram Coach. The Enneagram is about compassion, understanding, and creating healthier connections, especially in this midlife season where relationships matter deeply and energy is more precious than ever. My hope is that it brings clarity and some very practical ways to strengthen your relationships. If you're new to the Enneagram or want to learn more, check out Season 7, Episode 1, where I give a more in-depth overview of the Enneagram. If you want to determine your Enneagram type, there is a link in the show notes for a free assessment you can take, which will help you to determine your type. This week, our Enneagram and Relationship series is with one of the most joyful, energetic, and often misunderstood types on the Enneagram. Type 7, often called the Enthusiast. Type 7s are typically described as fun-loving, adventurous, optimistic, and spontaneous. And while all of that can be true, it's only part of the story. 7s are often labeled as flaky, avoidant, or unable to commit. But what's really happening beneath the surface is much more tender than that. If you're a 7, or you love a 7, you work with or lead a 7, this episode is for you. Because 7s aren't running from responsibility, they're protecting hope. And today we're going to talk about what that means in relationships. At their core, type 7s are driven by a desire to experience life fully and joyfully. They are future-oriented, possibility-focused, and constantly scanning the horizon for what could be good, meaningful, or exciting next. 7s tend to think quickly, move quickly, and dream expansively. They are energized by ideas, experiences, and connection, and they often bring lightness and laughter into every space they enter. At their healthiest, 7s are joyful and hopeful. They're emotionally resilient, curious, and imaginative. They're present and engaged and deeply encouraging to others. But when 7s are stressed or unhealthy, they may avoid pain or discomfort. They might overcommit and underdeliver. They might stay busy to avoid feeling their feelings and struggle to stay present in hard moments. They often tend to chase the next thing instead of finishing the current one. But it's really important to understand this. 7s don't avoid depth. They avoid getting stuck in pain. 7's core longing is you are free, you are safe, and you are allowed to enjoy life. They want to know that joy isn't fragile and that suffering won't last forever. Their core fear is being trapped in pain, deprivation, or emotional suffering. 7s fear feeling stuck emotionally, relationally, or circumstantially, especially if they believe there's no escape or relief. Their core desire is to experience joy, freedom, and fulfillment. In relationships, this means that 7s deeply value flexibility and autonomy. They like forward momentum and shared experiences, and they value hope and possibility. They don't want relationships that feel confining or heavy. They want ones that feel alive. If you look at an Enneagram diagram, it's a circle, and each type has another type on either side. Every Enneagram type is influenced by its neighboring numbers, known as wings. Wings are the seasoning to your type. They add dimension and more layers to your personality. A 7 with a wing 6 looks like a more relational and security-oriented person. They're loyal and community-focused, friendly, engaging, and they often experience anxiety alongside their optimism. They may oscillate between excitement and worry. They want joy, but also reassurance. A 7 with an 8 wing looks more assertive and action-oriented. They're bold and confident, vision-driven leaders. They're strong personalities with big energy, but they can struggle with control or impatience. They want freedom and momentum. Each Enneagram type can be evenly distributed between these wings, or they might lean one way more strongly than another. So keep that in mind. Also on the diagram of the Enneagram, you may notice that each number has an arrow pointing away from it and an arrow pointing towards it. The arrow pointing away from the number is the type that a number goes to in stress. The arrow pointing towards the number is the number that it goes to in growth. So when a 7 is in stress, they move toward the low side of a type 1. They can become critical or irritable. They might feel frustrated when joy is blocked. They can lean towards rigidity or have perfectionistic tendencies. And they might lose that natural lightness that they have. They might be thinking, why can't anything just be good? Now in growth, 7s move towards the high side of a type 5. They become more present and focused. They might slow down mentally and emotionally. They're able to sit with depth instead of escaping it. And they learn that stillness doesn't equal suffering. A growing 7 learns that presence doesn't steal joy, it deepens it. If you've been listening to this season and finding yourself thinking, that sounds like me, or that explains someone I love, I want you to know you're not alone. The Enneagram is such a powerful tool for understanding ourselves and the people around us, not so that we can label or fix one another, but so we can meet ourselves and others with more compassion, patience, and grace. As a certified Enneagram coach, I work with individuals and teams who want to grow in self-awareness, strengthen their relationships, and navigate this season of life with more clarity and confidence. Whether you're exploring your own type, working through a transition, or part of a team wanting to communicate and collaborate more effectively, Enneagram coaching creates space to slow down, reflect, and grow together. If you feel a gentle nudge to go deeper, I'd love to connect with you. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Nicole Stute or email me at themarvelousmiddleagepodcast@gmail.com. There's no pressure, just a conversation. Because understanding ourselves changes the way we show up in the world, and that matters. And with that in mind, let's jump back into this week's episode. At their healthiest, 7s show up in relationships as fun, engaging, and hopeful partners or friends. They're vision casters who help others see what's possible. They're encouragers during difficult seasons. They're energizing, creative, and generous. And they're emotionally resilient and forward-moving. 7s express love through shared experiences and adventures, quality time. They're optimistic and very encouraging. And they're really good at helping others reframe difficult situations. They bring light to dark places, often instinctively. When 7s are stressed or overwhelmed, they might struggle in relationships by avoiding hard conversations or minimizing pain, their own pain and others' pain. They might try to stay busy to avoid emotional processing. They might tend to overcommit and then just disappear. And they may leave things unresolved. Internally, they may be thinking, if I stay here, I'll lose myself. This can feel painful or confusing to partners, friends, or leaders who need consistency or emotional presence. But the issue with sevens isn't a lack of care. It's a fear of being consumed by heaviness. If you're in relationship with a seven, here are some things that you can do to function well in that relationship. Make sure that you invite depth gently, not forcefully with a seven. Give those hard conversations a clear beginning and an end. Celebrate a seven's joy and their creativity, and offer them options instead of ultimatums. And be sure to be honest about your needs without being overwhelming. Conversely, try to avoid shaming sevens for their optimism or forcing constant emotional processing. You don't want to trap them in unresolved heaviness. That is not comfortable for sevens. And don't label them as immature or avoidant. With sevens, gentle anchoring works better than emotional force. If you lead a type 7 or work with a type 7, be sure to communicate with a vision and a big picture purpose. Have enthusiasm and forward movement as you're discussing work-related projects or tasks with them. Set clear priorities, or they will say yes to everything. Have defined timelines and expectations. That will help sevens. You can support them by helping them finish what they start. And offering autonomy within structure is really helpful for sevens. Encourage their focus without controlling them, and affirm their creativity and their contribution to the work you're doing. Sevens thrive when freedom and accountability can coexist. If you're a type 7 listening today, hear this. Your joy is a gift, and your presence in hard moments matters more than you realize. And if you love or lead a 7, you don't have to contain their joy to build depth. Relationships with 7s are vibrant, hopeful, and full of possibility when we honor both their need for joy and their capacity for depth. Thanks for being here today. If this episode resonated, share it with someone who loves or leads a type 7. Until next time, stay hopeful, stay grounded, and keep showing up with grace. Thank you so much for being part of the Marvelous Middle-Aged Podcast community. I'd love for you to follow the show so new episodes land right in your feed. I'd be so grateful if you left a rating and a 5-star review on the podcast platform you listen on. It's a simple way to help others find the podcast. And if there's a topic you'd love to hear more about, I'd truly love to hear from you. You can email me at themarvelousmiddleagepodcast@gmail.com or send me a DM on Instagram at Nicole Stu. Thank you for listening, for showing up, and for choosing to thrive in this season of life.